Gracias. So today is the celebration of the disappearance day of two stalwart devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sivananda Sena and Svarupa Damodara, extraordinary personalities in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Jayani lo premadhana Karuna prachur Jayanilo premadhana Karuna prachur Eno bravo kota hela charya thakur tahela charya thakur kamora Svarupa Kaha sanatan Kaha saranata patita pavan Kamora Vatayuga Kaha Kavira Eka kale kata gela hora natara Pashane kutivo mata Annale pasivo Gauranga unera nidhi kata gele pavo Se sabha sangira sange je koilo vila Se sangana paya kane haro tamada Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Nittai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo. Namo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravachakacharya Sarasata His Divine Grace A. C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridasa Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Sundar Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki, all glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna, all glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're celebrating Ratha Yatra in Puri today, alongside with the Disappearance Day of these very important personalities, Sivananda Sena and Svarupa Damodara, who were a constant associate, especially Svarupa Damodara of the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So today is going to be a reading about biography about the two personalities. There is no concern about time because how much can be presented in the reading, that'll be fine. It'll stop at the right time. It'll be fine. Because we have very limited time and a lot of stuff to read from. So whenever we come to the point of completing the reading for the presence of the deities, that'll be just perfect. So, Sivananda Sena, this is from the Gaudiya history, ISKCON Desire Tree. And these biographies are found in the book by B.B. Tirtha Swami, who is a member of the Gaudiya Vaishnava, and he's written this absolutely gorgeous book, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, His Life and Associates. So everything about the personalities that are involved in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda are presented in that book. It's a huge book. It's very large and it's very beautifully published and it's highly recommended. But if you don't have access to the book, you go to gaudiya.iskcondesire.com. And there you have all the biographies, not just of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas from our line, but all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas from other lines also. So Sivananda Sena, he was a Vaidya, he was from a lower caste. His father was a physician, I understand. But in the pastimes of Lord the pastimes of Vrindavan, he was Vira Duti. Duti means messenger. So he was a gopi who would take the messages between Radha and Krishna. So he had a very intimate connection with the divine couple. And his Shripata was located in Kumarahata, which is, I believe, on the eastern part of Bengal. Sivananda Sena had 3 sons. Their names were Chaitanya Das, Ramadas, and Paramananda Das. Paramananda Das is also known as Kavi Karnapur. And Kavi Karnapur is a very important personality because he wrote several books, I believe 7 of them in total. But the one that everybody knows about, or maybe has heard about, is what's that name? Where he equates the personalities in both pastimes, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, who they are, Gora Ganodesh Tipika, I think, Gora Ganodesh Tipika. So that was the son of Sivananda Sena, and he had an interesting relationship with Lord Chaitanya because he was presented to the Supreme Lord when the family took him to Puri for the Ratha Yatra, and Lord Chaitanya, he was a baby, and he was running around Lord Chaitanya's feet. And so, volume, not good. And so this baby was given, he was walking around Lord Chaitanya's, or crawling around Lord Chaitanya's feet. And Lord Chaitanya put his foot out, and so the baby sucked on his toe. So he got the mercy of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was able to write these amazing literatures, and especially Gora Ganodesh Tipika, where he explains who is who in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and his equivalency in the pastimes of Vrindavan with the gopis. But going back to Sivananda Sena, Sivananda Sena was a very intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he had, as directed by by Lord Chaitanya, he was taking the devotees from Bengal to Puri for the Ratha Yatra, the 4 months of the Chaturmasya. And they would be there participating in all the pastimes of the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and going out with him in Harinam parties. During one pilgrimage to Nilachala, which is another name for Puri, a dog joined their party, and Sivananda took personal care of the dog, even paying extra fare to allow the dog to cross the river. One night, Sivananda was detained for some time and arrived at the camp late in the evening, only to find that the dog had not been given prasad. And despite a thorough search, the dog was nowhere to be found. Thus, Sivananda did not accept any food that night. When the party arrived in Nilachala, they found the dog in the presence of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The dog was eating some coconut given by the Lord and was chanting, Krishna, Krishna. Sivananda offered his humble obeisances at the feet of the dog and apologized. On another occasion, Sivananda was detained, and thus accommodations for the party had not been made. Remember, he's the one who was taking all the devotees. He was paying for all these expenses. He was finding accommodations. He was taking care of them absolutely for 4 months. It was quite late at night, and Lord Nityananda appeared to be restless and hungry. Thus he said, I'm so hungry, yet still there is no sign of Sivananda. Therefore I curse his 3 sons to die. Hearing this, Sivananda's wife began to cry. When Sivananda returned and his wife informed him what had happened, he consoled her by saying, Why are you crying? Let my 3 sons die if it is the desire of Lord Nityananda. Imagine the faith that these devotees, of course they were all pure devotees, had in Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. Can I have some water? Sivananda then went before Lord Nityananda, and Lord Nityananda kicked him. Vasudev Datta was an extraordinary generous man. That's another story. But he never saved any money. And Lord Chaitanya directed Sivananda as follows. You should become the accountant of Vasudev and take charge of his expenses. Once, Lord Chaitanya appeared within the body of Nakula Brahmachari at Ambika. Upon hearing this, Sivananda went to Ambika, but instead of meeting Nakula, he remained hidden. Thank you. Hoping to test the authenticity of Nakula Brahmachari, Sivananda thought, if that Brahmachari calls me by name and speaks out my Ishta mantra, then I will be convinced that the omniscient Lord Gauranga has truly entered his body. Because it was this rumor saying that Lord Chaitanya had entered the body of this Brahmachari, Nakula Brahmachari. It happened as Sivananda desired. The Brahmachari called his name and spoke out his Ishta mantra. So these are different stories about the life of Lord of the Supreme. Sivananda Prabhu. Once Lord Chaitanya, without manifesting himself physically, partook of food presented by Nrsimhananda in the house of Sivananda. Not having personally seen the Lord, Sivananda was uncertain of this incident. However, the next year, when visiting the Lord in Puri, Lord Chaitanya mentioned the time which he had come to accept prasad at Sivananda's house, thus clearing up Sivananda's doubts. Before writing his books, Kavi Karnapur collected considerable information about Lord Chaitanya's life from Sivananda. Sivananda utilized his entire property and wealth in the service of Hari Guru Vaishnavas. All his family members, including his friends, servants, and 3 sons, even his nephew, Sri Sena, were great devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Sivananda lived in Kumarahata, which is known as Halisara, and the deity Gaur Gopal, which was worshipped by him, is now in a different location, a few miles away from Kumarahata. It's explained by his son, Kavi Karnapur, in the Gora Ganodesh Tipika, that his father, Sivananda Sena, was an associate of Sri Radha in Dwarpa Yuga and was known as Vira. Every year, Sivananda took full responsibility for bringing the Gaudiya devotees to Puri on foot. This is already, we've heard about that. Yes. So the dog was given prasadam, coconut prasadam, by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the following day he disappeared. So it was understood that that dog had been sent back to Godhead. So now we're going to be looking at the life of, but these are some of the main instances of, or examples of Sivananda Sena's life. So let me get to Svarupa Damodara. This is a very impressive description. There's 3 biographies here. And I picked one that was not as long, but it's really, really long. And it is worthwhile reading after you go home and you want to know more about Svarupa Damodara, because there's an incredible amount of details. And they are all very inspiring and very comforting and very instructive. Svarupa Damodara Goswami, one of the closest associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Purushottama Acharya, that was his initial name, Svarupa, knew exactly the heart of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, glorifying him as the storehouse of all devotional mellows. Lord Chaitanya added the word Damodar to his name. So his name was Purushottama Acharya, and then he was named Svarupa Damodar. Svarupa Damodar revealed to the world the innermost emotions of Sri Chaitanya's mood of Radharani, feeling separation from Krishna. Sensing Lord Gauranga's moods, Svarupa Damodar would perform kirtan to enhance the Lord's internal sentiments. The most intimate associates of the Supreme Lord were there with him constantly, like Svarupa Damodara, in order to be able to increase the emotion and the emotional responses of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his association with the Mahamantra, the bhajans, etc. So bringing him back to her relationship with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Svarupa Damodara would perform kirtan to soothe Lord Chaitanya's love pangs in the mood of separation. He would sing songs from the Gita Govinda, which is Gita Govinda, Jadav Goswami, Krishna Karnamrita, and love poems of Chandidas and Vidyapati. So he was like a bard. He was always singing. He was singing the Mahamantra. He was singing all kinds of very intense devotional songs to the Supreme Lord. And Lord Chaitanya would go into intense ecstasy. Svarupa Damodara, throughout the day, Svarupa Damodara and Ramananda Roy stayed near Sri Chaitanya in order to nourish his pastimes. He is one of the 3.5 most intimate devotees of Lord Chaitanya. One of them is Svarupa Damodara, the other one is Ramananda Roy, the third one is Sikhi Mahiti, and Sikhi Mahiti's sister Madhavi Devi is the 3.5 most intimate associates of the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just as Lalita and Vishaka are Radharani's dearest gopis, Svarupa Damodara, who is Vishaka Devi, according to some, it depends on the author, because somebody equates Svarupa Damodara to Vishaka and some others equate him to Lalita. And Ramananda Roy, Lalita Saki, sometimes Vishaka Saki, are Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's most confidential associates. We know that. We know that Lalita and Vishaka are the most confidential associates of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And so here we have Ramananda Roy and Svarupa Damodara in these forms of personal associates who are Lalita and Vishaka. Svarupa Damodara was the guardian of the Gaudiya devotees. So whenever the devotee misbehaved, Lord Garasanda would say, Svarup, your Gaudiya did this and such and such. Svarupa Damodara would personally check for grammatical also. He would also check for grammatical or philosophical flaws in any newly written verse, song, or book before giving it to Lord Chaitanya for approval. So he was very particular that nothing would come to Lord Chaitanya that was not absolutely within the teachings of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, the exact teachings. Krishnadas Kaviraj used Svarupa Damodara's Karcha, the memoirs of Sri Chaitanya's life, to compile the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In other words, Svarupa Damodara wrote so many things about the life of Lord Chaitanya, and this composition in Sanskrit, that's called Karcha, was used by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Svarupa Damodara Goswami also wrote the Sangita Damodar, the book of music, and his samadhi is in the 64 samadhi areas. There's another description of his life. It's called Mahaprabhu's alter ego. Svarupa Damodara is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's alter ego. And so in this description, this biography, there are constant references to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and some minor references to other texts. So this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita 1.4, verses 103 to 105. I have already shown that preaching the Sankirtan movement was the external cause for the Lord's descent. There is another primary purpose for the Lord's incarnation. This is the personal work of Krishna, the foremost enjoyer of loving exchanges. This very confidential cause is threefold, as has been revealed by Svarupa Damodara Goswami. So the import of this personality in the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Since Svarupa Damodara Goswami was extremely close to the Lord, and he was thus able to know all these matters, he had personal, intimate association. He could read the Supreme Lord very well, and he was able to write down this diary in Sanskrit that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami utilized for information about the life of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he composed the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In his lila as the golden avatar, Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, enveloped by the desire and bodily luster of Srimati Radharani. So even though Mahaprabhu is Krishna, he has the mood and complexion. We have read that so many times, of Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani always yearning to be in the association of the Supreme Lord and experiencing the greatest ecstasy by the mode of viraha, which is separation. Sri Svarupa Damodara Goswami was his alter ego. Because of his intimate connection to the Lord, he was able to know all the most confidential reasons for his incarnation, as well as the most secret aspects of his lila. He later divulged these understandings to a larger audience of devotees. In Vraja Lila, he was also Radharani's alter ego, Lalita Saki. In the Gora Ganodesh Tipika, Kavi Karnapur identifies Sri Svarupa Damodara Goswami as Radha's other companion, Vishaka Devi. That's what I'm saying, that it depends who the author is, but they're both Vishaka and Lalita. With Ramananda Roy and Svarupa Damodar, those are the personalities in Krishna's pastime. That same Vishaka, who previously taught Radha the arts in Vraja, is today Svarupa Goswami, who rejoices in the moods of Radha and Krishna. Any comments or questions so far? In the last 12 years of his pastime in Puri, the Lord remained constantly absorbed in the mood of Radharani. During this time, only Svarupa Damodar and Ramananda Roy were able to experience the depths of his emotion through relishing topics known only to them. And this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, what I'm going to read now. Day and night, Mahaprabhu ecstatically relished the songs of Chandidas, Vidyapati, and Ramananda Roy's plays, as well as Krishna Karnamrita and Gita Govinda, in the company of Svarupa and Ramananda Roy. There was another personality here that was very, very close to the Supreme Lord, and that is Paramananda Puri. And in this paragraph, it's explained what his relationship to Lord Chaitanya was. Remember Paramananda Puri, Ramananda Roy, and Svarupa Damodar, Sikhi Mahiti, and Madhavi Dasi. Paramananda Puri had parental affection for Mahaprabhu. Ramananda Roy had love for him in pure friendship. So these are the different moods, the different relationships. Paramananda Puri was parental. Ramananda Roy was Saka. Krishna Das's love, that was his servant. Govinda Das's love for him was as a servant. And Gadadhar, Jagadananda, and Svarupa Damodar worshipped him in the ecstasy of the chief rasa. What is the chief rasa? The conjugal relationship, right? So we have Paramananda Roy had the parental affection, and Ramananda Roy was his friend, and Govinda Das was his servant, and Gadadhar, Jagadananda, and Svarupa Damodar worshipped the Supreme Lord in the ecstasy of Madhurya Ras, conjugal relationship. Mahaprabhu's heart was won by these four different loving attitudes. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur has explained these verses in the Anubhashya as follows. Sri Paramananda Puri, who was Uddhava in Krishna Lila, loved Mahaprabhu with parental affection. Ramananda, who was either Vishaka or Arjuna, had the pure sentiment of a close friend. Govinda and others were devoted to their service to the Lord and possessed a pure mood of service called Shuddha Dasya. Gadadhar, Jagadananda, and Svarupa Damodar served the Lord in the primary sentiment, which is that of erotic love, Madhura Ras. The Lord became obliged to these devotees, accepting their worship, their association, their service, and their joy. These descriptions are so beautiful. And so they allow us, by reading them, my husband and I read about an hour and a half, because these pastimes are amazing, these biographies, in preparation for the class. And they're so enriching, and they touch the heart, and they purify the consciousness. So it's quite worthwhile to read about the associates of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and understand the mood, in this case, of Lord Chaitanya through them. Murari Gupta is a physician, another personality who was closely associated with the Supreme Lord, a physician, explained all of the Lord's early pastimes in the form of an outline. Svarupa Damodar did the same for the Lord's later pastimes. The devotees describe the Lord's activities by following the order given in these two outlines. So we have the early pastimes, mostly Chaitanya Bhagavat, and then, of course, early pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, plus later pastimes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, by the mercy of Murari Gupta, who writes about the early pastimes, and Svarupa Damodar, who writes about the latter pastimes, because Svarupa Damodar was there at the very end, all for 12 years assisting the Supreme Lord. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written his commentary on these verses. Murari Gupta's outline of the Lord's early pastimes are still extant, they still exist. So devotees were able to expand on the Lord's pastimes after looking at his written text. The Vaishnavas only heard Svarupa Damodar's Karyacha, which is the composition he wrote in Sanskrit, through Raghunath Das Goswami. So Raghunath Goswami was involved in passing out this information also. Chaitanya Lila is like the finest of jewels. No wonder that Srila Prabhupada translated and made commentaries so purport on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, considering they had limited time on this planet and that he had to give the essence of the essence. Chaitanya Charitamrita, of course, and then, of course, the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Nectar of Devotion, or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Bhagavad Gita. So of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he selected the Chaitanya Charitamrita on a race against a professor who was translating it at the same time in a very impersonal manner. Chaitanya Lila is like the finest of jewels which were held in Sri Svarupa Damodar Goswami's storehouse and then placed by him around Raghunath Das's neck. I have written down here whatever I heard from him as extensively as I was able, making a gift of it to the devotees. And this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita 2285. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments on this verse in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya as follows. Svarupa Damodar describes the Lord's latter pastimes in summary Sanskrit verses known as a Karyacha. He made Raghunath Das memorize these verses, and later Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami spread these accounts of the Lord's activities throughout the world. As a result, Svarupa Damodar's Karyacha was never published in book form. The Chaitanya Charitamrita is itself the essence of Sri Svarupa Damodar Goswami's Karyacha. Svarupa Damodar's Kirtan. Sri Svarupa Damodar used to make Mahaprabhu very happy. He was a lifelong brahmachari, by the way. Sri Svarupa Damodar used to make Mahaprabhu very happy by singing the songs of Vidyapati, Chandidas, and Gita Govinda. He was as expert a musician as the Gandharvas, and in knowledge of the scripture he was just like Brihaspati, highly learned personality. No personality was his equal. Sri Svarupa Damodar was also very dear to Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. and he was the life and soul of all the devotees, headed by Sri Vastakur. And this again is a quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has described the extent to which Sri Svarupa Damodara Goswami and Ramananda Roy were dear to Mahaprabhu in the 15th chapter of the Antya Lila. After saying these things, the Lord took Svarupa Damodar and Ramananda Roy by the shoulders and said, "Listen, Svarup and Ram Roy, tell me what I should do. Where should I go in order to find Krishna? You can tell me the best thing to do." In this way, Gauranga would tell his tale of woe to Svarup and Ramananda, and they would console him in his grief. Svarup would sing and Ramananda would recite Sanskrit verses, giving joy to the Lord with Karnamrita, Vidyapati, and Gita Govinda references. This is again from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Canto 3, Book 3 of Chapter 15, verses 24 to 27. And similar passage is found in the Antalila. Mahaprabhu remained in Nilachala in this way, passing the days and nights absorbed in the anxiety of separation from Krishna. Svarup and Ramananda were always with him, bringing him ecstasy with a recitation of songs and verses appropriate to his mood. Again, Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur has mentioned Shri Svarupa Damodara as one of the main principal associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he describes there how the Lord would lose external consciousness when hearing Svarup's Kirtan. Kirtan is not only the Mahamantra, is any kind of poem. For example, we have so many bhajans, yes. Whenever Svarupa Damodara would sing aloud, the Lord would lose all awareness of his surroundings and fall to the ground out of ecstasy. Of all the sannyasis who were members of the Lord's entourage, none was the equal of Sri Svarupa Damodara Goswami. The Lord had a great deal of affection for Paramananda Puri and an equal amount for Svarupa Damodar. Remember Svarupa Damodar as an associate in the Madhura Ras, and Paramananda Puri, which are older, the Lord Chaitanya, as in parental mood, their relationship with him, father and son. Svarupa Damodar was full of the nectar of devotional songs, which would make the Lord dance as soon as he heard them. And this is quoted from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Gadadhar Pandit in relationship to Svarupa Damodar and Lord Chaitanya. When Srila Gadadhar Pandit Goswami was living at Tota Gopinath's temple, he would give discourses on the Bhagavat while in an ecstatic trance. He primarily spoke on the sections dealing with the lives of Prahlad and Dhruva. Mahaprabhu was overcome by the 8 ecstatic symptoms upon hearing Gadadhar's Bhagavat's reading and Svarupa Damodar's Kirtan. So those things brought him to experience highest degrees of ecstasy. To hear Raghunath Das Goswami presenting the topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Kirtan and the songs of Svarupa Damodar. Gadadhar Pandit was the main expert in the Bhagavat and Svarupa Damodar in Kirtan. Svarupa Damodar would sing alone and Mahaprabhu would lose himself in dance. Mahaprabhu would reveal all the symptoms of ecstatic love, such as tears, trembling, laughing, fainting, horripilation, and roaring. They all manifested on his body as he danced with the devotees. When he heard Svarupa Damodar singing the Kirtan aloud, the Lord would lose external consciousness and would fall down on the spot. There was no equal to Svarupa amongst all of the Lord's sannyasi associates. Svarupa was as dear to him as Paramananda Puri. Sri Svarupa Damodar Goswami was the incarnation of the delight of song. Look at this sentence. Sri Svarupa Damodara Goswami was the incarnation of the delight of song, which would make Mahaprabhu dance. And this was from the Chaitanya Bhagavat quote. So, let's see how much time we have. 5 minutes. All right. So I'm going to skip a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm going to go to the core of the subject matter here. The Lord jumps into the sea. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has described another extraordinary event of this type. Once, during a full moon evening in autumn, the Lord was inspired to remember Krishna's Rasa Lila. Accompanied by his devotees, he wandered through the Tota garden next to the Gundicha temple, relishing songs about the Rasa dance. As they approached the seashore, Mahaprabhu took the sea to be the Yamuna river and jumped into it. His body floated south toward Karnaka until a fisherman caught him in his nets, thinking him to be a large fish. When he dragged the Lord on board his boat, he saw that all his limbs were distended, transformed into a giant human form. Upon touching him, the fisherman was immediately infused with prema and started crying and calling the name of Krishna. Meanwhile, Svarupa Damodara and the other devotees were desperately seeking the Lord. Finally, they saw the fisherman standing on the shore with the Lord on his shoulders. Now, Svarupa Damodara is going to come to the fisherman and is going to say that I am an exorcist. You probably have a ghost there in your net. And he's going to exorcise and he's going to take care of the problem because the fisherman was completely taken by this experience. When Svarupa saw the fisherman in a state of ecstatic transformation, he came and explained who Mahaprabhu was, but still had to slap him several times before he calmed down. Then the devotees began to sing the holy names aloud until the Lord jumped up with a roar. Once again, while in a state of half-absorption in trance, Mahaprabhu recounted everything that he had experienced. Mahaprabhu had been in the world of Krishna's Rasa Lila and water sports. When they heard all his ecstatic utterances, the devotees trembled in awareness of the Lord's divine loving madness. It's called Ummada. This is another manifestation of ecstasy, the highest one. Then they led him back to the Gambhira, the Lord's final days. When Advaitacharya sent the riddle message back to Bengal, with Jagadananda Pandit indicating that the Lord's pastimes would soon come to an end, Svarupa Damodara became distracted while the Lord's divine madness became more and more intense. In his final instructions to Svarupa Damodara and Ramananda Roy, the Lord made it very clear that Harinam Sankirtan is the supreme method for attaining love for Krishna. I'm going to read this again. In his final instructions to Svarupa Damodara and Ramananda Roy, the Lord made it very clear that Harinam Sankirtan is the supreme method for attaining love for Krishna. So please bear that in mind, how important Harinam Sankirtan is. The Lord, in a wave of jubilation, said, listen, Svarupa Damodara and Ramananda Roy, in the age of Kali, Harinam Sankirtan is the supreme means of deliverance in the age of Kali. Krishna is to be worshipped by the congregational chanting of his holy names. This is the way that an intelligent person attains the lotus feet of Krishna. So let's all be very intelligent and participate in Harinam Sankirtan. It's essential. It's essential. Through the chanting of the holy name, all of one's sinful reactions are extinguished and all auspiciousness arises until finally one experiences the joys of love for Krishna. And this is a quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Canto 3, Chapter 20. After saying this, the Lord recited his own 8 verses, known as the Shikshastaka, which we recite here every day at the closing of the morning program. As he relished them, he felt more and more humble in feelings of separation from Krishna. Taking on the mood of Srimati Radharani, he became totally absorbed in love for Krishna. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees ki jai.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Maravindalayataptam Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Giram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Govindam Adipurusham.
Page 57. Parama Karuna Poundwijana Nitai Gorachandra Paramakaruna Poundwijana Chandra Saba Avatara Saroshiromane Kevalananda Kanda Saba Avatara Saroshiromane Kevalananda Kanda Bajo Bajo Bai Chaitanya Nitai Surita Visvasa Kori Bajo Bajo Bai Chaitanya Nitai Surita Visvasa Kori Bajo Bajo Bai Chaitanya Nitai Surita Vishvasa Kori Bajo Bajo Bai Chaitanya Nitai Surita Vishvasa Kori Vishayacharya Sera Semajiya Mukke Bolo Hari Hari Vishayacharya Sera Semajiya Mukke Bolo Hari Hari Deko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Hemana Doyala Datta Deko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Hemana Doyala Datta Deko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Emana Doyala Datta Aneko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Emona Doyala Datta Pashupake Jure Pashana Vedare Shuni Jaro Guna Gata Pashupake Jure Pashana Vidare Shuni Jaro Guna Gata Samsare Majia Rohili Poriya Sepadena Hilo Asha Samsarena Jia Rohili Poriya Sepadena Hilo Asha Samsare Majia Rohili Poriya Sepadena Hilo Asha Namsare Majia Rohili Poriya Sena Hilo Asha Apana Karoma Bunjaye Samana Kohoye Lochana Dasa Apana Karoma Bunjaye Shamana Koye Lochana Dasa Apana Karoma Bunjaye Shamana Kohoye Lochana Dasa Apana Karama Bunjaye Shamana Kohoye Lochana Dasa Paramakaruna Poundwijana Nitai Gora Chandra Paramakaruna Paundwijana Nitai Gora Chandra Saba Avatara Sharoshiromane Kevala Ananda Kanda Saroshiromane Kevala Ananda Kanda Jaya Gornitai 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo Nitai Gaur Haribo 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 Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Haribo 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo Nitai Gaur Haribo 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Nanda Rad Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Tai ki jai, Shri Shri Radhagolokananda ki jai. The two lords, Nitai Gaurachandra, Lord Nitai and Lord Chaitanya, are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations, and their specific significance is that prosecuting their way of self-realization is simply joyful, for they introduce chanting and dancing. My dear brother, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm faith and faith. Gratification to be Krishna conscious. By this process, one is sure to reach the desired goal. One simply has to chant Hare Krishna, Hare, without any sense-gratifying motive. My dear brother, you just try and examine this. Within the three worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda, because their merciful qualities are so great that they make even the birds and beasts cry. What to speak of human beings? Even stone will melt at the chanting. My dear mind, you are entrapped in sense gratification and have no attraction for chanting Hare Krishna. Since I have no attraction for Nityananda, what can I say? I can simply weep of my misfortune. No, this is Lochan Das Thakur.
Oh, Narottanda.
Lochan Das Thakur ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan tomorrow evening, 5:30 to 7:30. Downtown Hillsborough, it's the last Friday celebration, and we'll be at the corner of Margaret Street and Churton, right in front of the real estate office where they let us chant. Very nice corner. Please come, 5:30 tomorrow evening. Hare Krishna. Okay. Chaitodarpanam marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam Trayakairai
Chandrikavitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Ananda Bhujivadanam Pratipadam Punamrita Swadanam
Sarvatmasnam Paramvijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amita Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam va Jagadisha Kamae Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Budao Kribayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrashim Vachintaya Nayanam Gavadashu Daraya Vadanam Gad Gadarudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Brabashayatam Sunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Aslishavapadamratam Anastumam Adarshanam Marmatakarotuva Yatatatava Vidadatulam Pato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction of the heart because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us easily by your holy names. I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I fall into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of your atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if we or makes me broken hearted